And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host, Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. And once again, I got the bums in the house. AJ, James, thank you for being with me this evening. Unfortunately, we have some, shitty Spurs news to talk about. We're on a 3-game skid, but even though we're talking about some shitty Spurs games, I'm still happy you guys are here.
Well, I'm happy to be here. It takes my mind off the frigid weather that we have right now. Good Lord, guys. Did you know that it snowed like 3-4 inches? It's supposed to snow even more now. I mean, I'm not prepared for this, guys. Not at all. I barely have pants, so this is going to be a tough one for me.
Hopefully AJ's power doesn't go out midway through.
Oh, Jesus. Don't even say that.
Honestly, Texas is just not built for shit like this. We just completely panic and shut down when it gets this cold. Like, people just don't know how to drive. They go get too much toilet paper. They're just complete idiots. So I'm just hoping the world doesn't end in the next 12 hours.
Rob, were you talking about the Texas residents or the San Antonio Spurs?
Well,
at this point.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, a loss last night to the Bucks, and you know what? Of course, it should have me riled up, but you know what? That was one of the ones on the calendar where I wasn't expecting us to get an immediate win. I knew that the way the Bucks had been playing lately, it was going to be a tough to go into Milwaukee and get that win. So I think that whenever I look at it through that lens, it's not really that disappointing, not nearly as much as the Bulls game from the night before or the couple days before.
Yeah, I think that's all totally fair. What's super disappointing was they weren't really competitive outside of the first quarter. They just weren't competitive, and that was something where we were used to seeing last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like watching a game from last year because that lead ballooned up to 20 points. You look at the box scores during that time, and Wemby has 6 points, and you're going, what is happening right now? We're missing shots, can't play defense. I mean, the whole thing was just really rough to watch yesterday, and it was kind of a microcosm of the past 2 games before that too, with the Nuggets and with the Bulls. I mean, our biggest thing right now is we can't stop anyone down low. I mean, we can't stop any big man if they have any kind of post game at all, like even just a shimmy. We can't stop that, and that's very concerning, super concerning. I mean, we need to shake something up, move Castle back to the starting line. I don't know what we need to do. We don't look interested right now after these few losses. I don't like it. I don't like the body language. Harrison Barnes is the only one playing and trying to get us out of some of these droughts that we're in, and we can't be relying on that, man. We just can't.
Yeah, I agree. Last night was, I think there was a Rockets game earlier this year, and then last night, in terms of just completely uninspired efforts, those two are the only ones that come to mind. And I really think that the Bulls game kind of, in effect, beat them twice. They lost that game. They blew that second half lead. And they never recovered from it in that game, and it dragged over to the next game. And you just saw that, like AJ said, in their body language. It was poor from the start, and you can only lean on those veterans so much. You brought in Chris Paul, you brought in Harrison Barnes to be the adults in the room. But at the end of the day, guys like Devin Vassell, it's year 5. You've got to step up and show some leadership. And
Thank you.
That just wasn't there. Just wasn't there.
Right. It's like on nights where Wemby doesn't really have it going, and I'm not gonna excuse Wemby for what I saw last night because I'm not gonna lie. When I see 3 shots from him inside the paint, I can't fucking stand it. I need more aggressiveness. He shoots 87% from free throw. He needs to be attacking the basket. That's a fucking cheat code, him going to the rim. And really, when I look at it, going back to the Denver game, he didn't score in overtime when we were trying to close out the game. He didn't score in fourth quarter in Chicago whenever we were having our meltdown and lost a 19-point lead. And he didn't score in the entire fourth quarter last night. And I'm wondering if we're even using Wembanyama in the right way to close out games, because it doesn't seem to it doesn't seem to me like he's affecting the fourth quarter like I would want him to.
Yeah, you can maybe excuse the Denver one, second night of a kind of a rough back-to-back, traveling from altitude, all that, overtime game. Excusable. But what we've seen the last two outings, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend. What is 3 times? And I think you're exactly right. There's some sort of late game, whether it's the rotations that Mitch Johnson is using, whether it's just kind of the dog days of the season getting to the team. It's that early January kind of funk. We're not to MLK Day yet. We're kind of halfway through the season. Maybe they're just in a slump. Who knows? But they really miss Pop because they need someone that can get in there and just get on their ass. And I'm not sure if Mitch Johnson has that credibility.
No, that's fair. I mean, I'm looking at the box scores from last night. I mean, Wemby had 0 free throws. And then, Rob, I think you mentioned it in your TikTok, I guess after one of the games, it's more apparent than ever that we need a second superstar. Like 100%. We need someone that is just a baller, like maybe a Jimmy Butler. I don't know. Someone that can just come in and get a bucket, someone that can pair with Wemby, because right now, what we're doing ain't it. And to James' point earlier, it's Devin Vassell's 5th year. It's, these guys are not young kids anymore. We're not young. Like, don't give me that. So I'm frustrated more than ever, I think, for the season. And just like we were talking about with Taylor, I'm glad I'm glad that we can get frustrated because we have expectations. But at the same time, like, we're better than this, and maybe we are just in a slump.
Yeah, and it's Wemby had that first quarter last night, and there were 3 holy shit plays in about 2 minutes time, and you were like, okay, here we go again. It's just like last year when we played the Bucks, and then it was just crickets after that, just absolute crickets, and I'm begging someone because I know like Wemby and Jeremy Sohan, I know they have it in them, and Sohan didn't play last night, but someone show me you got that dog in you. Please. I'm begging you. Just show me, take it, get thrown out of a game. Cuss somebody out. Do something. Show me you've got that dog in you.
Right.
I haven't seen it these past couple of weeks from the guys that we need to see it from. Chris Paul, stopgap, glad he's here, but, someone needs to take the torch eventually.
Right. And you want to see that fight and that aggressive, from some of these players that may have not really solidified themselves next to Victor, because at the end of the day, if you're not playing with Victor long term, you're not going to fucking be here.
Exactly.
So if you're not willing to put that effort in, and to be brutally honest, we need more guys that can just go out there and get a 20 piece and just say, hey, fuck it, I'm going to be able to go get multiple buckets. And, it's nice to have scorers like Champagne and guys like Keldon Johnson because, last night he dropped a real nice 24 and 11. But if Keldon Johnson is our leading scorer at 24 and 11, even if he's shooting 50% from the field, we're fucking losing that game because that's not how we win games. Keldon being our main offensive threat is never going to be a pathway to winning basketball, especially.
We saw it a couple of years ago. When Keldon Johnson's your number 1 team, you're a top lottery team. Or number 1 option, you're a top lottery team. Nothing against him. It's just kind of what it is. He's a 6th man, 7th man, microwave type of guy.
Yeah, my biggest thing is we're not playing good defense. Like, we're just not playing good defense. There was a lot of open shots, a lot of easy buckets. I mean, Giannis just camped out in the lane and had the easiest game of his life, probably. I mean, what are we doing having Keldon Johnson on Giannis anyway? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Then it just continued to balloon up, and then you have Damian Lillard hitting 3-pointers, and then you have what's his face, the one that started over Middleton, come in and hit 40-footers. I mean, we're just like, what do we do? And that's just kind of going back to that Bulls game and giving up all those shots. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, hopefully they're just being reamed by Mitch Johnson, but I don't know if that's really the case. And Chris Paul can only do so much. So, these guys need to find it themselves and figure it out.
Chris Paul needs to turn up the unlikability. I know he's got it in him. He displays it everywhere.
We've hated him, so we totally get it.
By the end of the year, some of those guys in that locker room need to hate Chris Paul. It's going to benefit him in the long run.
Right. That's like a good necessary friction that every team needs. You need that challenge, that person that's going to really, create that situation where it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but you're going to have to confront some shit, and, it's going to make you better in the long run.
There's no reason why Champagny should be shooting more shots than Victor Wembanyama.
And quite frankly, Rob, you bring up a great point, and maybe I'm putting too much on him. Maybe I'm typecasting. I expect Jeremy Sohan to take that baton. Show me that you belong on this team. We know that you've proven yourself. You've improved on the floor. Show me that you really belong by showing me your intangibles.
Right.
Pick up that leadership. Call Vic out. He's playing bad. Call him out. Someone needs to be able to do that.
Right. I think we're a little bit a ways away from being able to call Victor out. I still think he's playing such amazing basketball overall that I think if you look at a game like last night, it's almost excusable. But I would rather see him have a bad game while taking 20 shots, while being aggressive. And if he's still shooting terribly, so be it. But if
Error
you're just
of commission.
Right, but if you're just going to take 10 shots and only 3 of them inside the paint, then to me, you're really not trying to win that game. You know better. Victor's one of the smartest players in the NBA already, even at 21 years old. He knows better. He knows that if he goes to his strong points, he's going to affect the game, even against a defender like Giannis, even against a defender like Brook Lopez. And I still feel like he didn't go to those strong points last night, and it's frustrating to see that.
I think I saw someone, I think it was Noah, someone on Twitter, on Spurs Twitter, one of the stats guys, said that the past month Devin Vassell has been slashing 40, 26, and 73. For a month. It's just, if you had any aspersions of Devin Vassell being a number 2, that's not what a number 2 does.
He's taking a number 2.
Not a number 2 on a good team, on a competitive team. And I don't know, to me, that's been eye-opening. That's been really eye-opening.
Right, because we were talking earlier about we need players that are going to go get a 20, 30 piece when Wemby's potentially not playing good. He's the guy that needs to be doing that. Mm-hmm. If we're not seeing him occasionally flirt with a 30, 35 burger, it's like, then what the fuck are you doing out there? I'm tired of these 11, 12, 13-point games because he's not a good facilitator, and sometimes his defense is up in the air, and I'm really not on board with the idea of him being our second offensive threat moving forward.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're seeing it play out that it can't be that way. And I know the Spurs are looking at this season with a little bit of a experimental touch, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think we're seeing that one's not working.
Right. Even if it is experimental, we still need to keep Victor happy, and we still need to keep improving in a way that sends a message that, hey, we are a threat moving forward. And
Absolutely.
And to me, it's going back to it, we got to keep Victor happy, man. It's all about him.
Yeah.
And I think go ahead, AJ.
No, I was going to say, the money can only go so far, and we'll be able to pay him, which is great. But if he's not happy and we're not winning come, the end of this year going into next year, or we don't make any moves and we'll start running out the same guys that we're just loyal to because we're the Spurs and we're just loyal to people for no reason at all. This is a effing business, guys. We're here to win games. We're not here to make friends. And I think whenever we kind of figure that out and we start actually doing stuff and we just start dropping these guys for trades and just go after somebody, then what's going to stop us if we go out in there and get Jimmy Butler and we trade Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell and we come out and we make it to the semifinals of the playoffs, is anyone going to give a shit about Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson? No, they're going to go have their 22 Jimmy Butler jerseys in La Cantera. So I don't want to hear it. Like I'm just over it. Guys, I'm sorry. The game last night really pissed me off, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I want to see this team win. And I think I saw a stat too. Like we're the only team in the past decade who hasn't won 5 games in a row.
Yep. And
that's
AJ,
shitty.
AJ, if you're gonna drop La Cantera and Jimmy Butler in the same sentence, you gotta say it like they would at La Cantera. It's Jimmy Butler.
There you go. There you go. Jimmy Butler. But dude, okay, so AJ, are you saying you want Jimmy in San Antonio?
Just I don't even care. I don't know if I want him in San Antonio. I'm okay with having Jimmy Butler as a rental, and then we can figure out in the offseason if we want to stay or go. But at least for the most part, like we're making an effort. And honestly, how many guys have come to San Antonio and they're like, you know what, San Antonio is a really good place, especially a guy like Jimmy Butler who's 35 years old. I mean, what more is he going to have in the NBA, and what more is he going to be doing? I mean, if San Antonio is this great organization, we can turn to Jimmy Butler and make his career 3 or 4 years longer. So I think we got to do something. James, I know you're going to correct me, and that's okay.
No. I wanted to say, AJ, I'm here to make I'm here to make money, not friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
But I'm not sure, Rob, and I want to hear what you have to say about this. I'm not sure if I'm willing to mortgage any part of my future to bring Jimmy Butler in, because AJ, I hear what you're saying, and I think the Spurs' closest analogous organization in the NBA is Miami, and I hear a lot of Miami Heat media. Trust me, I'm listening to Le Batard and Co. every day.
What'd you call me? No.
And the Heat have told themselves the same. You know, the culture. If they're this kind of peak organization, we can get the most out of our players. The Heat have been telling themselves the same things for 4 years now, and they've been right. But ultimately, here we still are with Jimmy Butler.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, I can't help but feel like Jimmy Butler is really, really good at his job, but he is consistently that guy that has gone from workplace to workplace to workplace and said, it's not my fault, it's your fault this isn't working out. And it's not because he's bad at his job, because I think when Jimmy wants to play, Jimmy plays amazing. But the problem is that Jimmy wants to play when Jimmy wants to play. And, you know, that's the playoffs, of course, and when it matters the most. But sometimes he doesn't give a fuck about games, and it looks like he's checked out, and he doesn't care about communicating with the organization as much as you really should if you're a star player. And so, yeah, it's frustrating.
That drives Riley and Spoelstra crazy,
Yep.
and it would drive Pop similarly up a wall. I like Jimmy as a player. I just don't love the fit here. I don't know if that's the best one, but I want to hear y'all's opinion on another issue that the Spurs have, and it's made itself crystally clear, and that's the backup big.
Who?
The lack of bigs. The lack of bigs
The who?
outside of Wemby.
The who?
Because, I mean, we all knew it was an issue prior, coming into the season. But, I mean, what the fuck, guys?
We don't have anybody.
No, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm the most okay with playing Bassey. Mm-hmm. Just because I know he's a traditional big, he's not going to command his own shot. He's not going to take dumb shots. He's just going to be there to get rebounds, go for blocks, and then get the occasional putback. And that's really about it. And then that's all I really want our backup big doing. But that's not really a lot. A lot of backup bigs nowadays can do all of those things and stretch the floor. Bassey can't do that worth a damn. So I agree. I think that having a better backup big that's not Bassey or Collins, and I like Mamoukelashvili, but he's not our long-term backup big either. So we need somebody that we can really, really rely on. And I'm not 100% sure who that is, but I would love us to go after a young big that maybe is a little bit undersized but has a good motor that a lot of people are sleeping on. I mean, someone like Jalen Duren would come to mind. I really, yeah,
Talk dirt to me, Rob.
I mean, I just, I mean, well, I mean, just like someone like him that like is young, has a good motor, gets rebounds, isn't trying to do more than his position. I would love to see someone like that, because Wemby's the exact opposite.
Right.
Wemby's wanting to play out. Wemby's wanting to extend. So having a more traditional big, I feel like would be a good balance.
What do you think about a name that I think Spurs Twitter seems to love, and that's Jonas Valanciunas? He's not quite as young. He's 32. He'll be 33 at the end of the season. But, I mean, he's a Spur killer.
Yeah, I don't mind Valanciunas. He's got a traditional post game, and like we were talking about earlier, guys that are willing to fight, Valanciunas. You bring Valanciunas to your team, and he's absolutely gonna go just throw a bow at somebody. I'm not saying he's a dirty player, but at the end of the day, I think he's willing to fight you a little bit to get his spot out there, and he isn't scared to throw his weight around. So I think that if we were to go after him and replace Collins and Bassey, I wouldn't hate that.
And AJ, what would you say if the Pistons said, no Jalen Duren, but Isaiah Stewart?
I wouldn't hate it. I like Isaiah Stewart. I think he's a great player.
You need a little bit of crazy.
You do need a little bit of crazy.
You need a little bit of crazy.
You do need a little bit of crazy.
He's got that.
Yeah. Well, I'm also looking at right now, and to answer your question, James, I wouldn't hate it. Like, I wouldn't hate Isaiah Stewart at all. Like, I think that would be, if we can trade for him and get rid of like Zach Collins and like two second round picks or something. I don't know what their contracts look like, but if we do something like that, perfect. Love it.
Shit, if someone would willingly take Zach Collins off our hands, I'd attach a first to it at this point.
Dude, only with affirmative.
No, I'm joking.
Just with affirmative action. So I'm looking at it right now, and I'm seeing that Clint Capella is an unrestricted free agent next year or this coming year. So like someone like that can just grab boards, block shots. Like, I think that's pretty solid. Also, Naz Reid, he has a player option this year. So, guys like that, and even Steven Adams, who's 31 years old, like that wouldn't suck. So, there's options this season. I just want it now. I want to see us do something now, even if it's a small, just clear whatever. I just want to see something so we can, I don't know, shake things up.
Rob, I saw both of our eyes perk up when AJ said Naz Reid. I think that's like the home run. That's like the biggest home run, best case scenario this offseason. That would be amazing.
Well, yeah, we're talking about adding a big man to our bench, and you get the sixth man of the year. Of course, that's interesting because not only is he incredibly athletic, can create his own shot, he can shoot threes very, very effectively, and he has a really good post game, and he has that dog in him. He is not scared to go right at a superstar player. So yeah, if we were to add somebody like him, I would immediately consider us a playoff team without a doubt. We would be a strong playoff team with Naz Reid.
And the great thing about him specifically is that he could go out and lead a second unit, or he could play next to Wemby. He could play four next to Wemby.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the versatility there, that's a home run.
Yeah.
If you can ever swing that.
What do you guys think about this, James? If the Spurs were decided to go after a Jonathan Kuminga,
that's a way to go about it. This past offseason when a lot of Spurs fans and media were hyping the Trae Young possibility, I saw some people kind of swerve and go, I'd rather have Jalen Johnson, and I think Jonathan Kuminga is in that same kind of category. I haven't been paying much attention to him. All I know is that he almost went to Tech but decided to go to the G League instead.
But I mean, honestly, if we're talking Jalen Johnson on the table, I would want Jalen Johnson. He's
Absolutely.
for sure.
I don't think he'll be on the table though.
No,
I don't
no.
think the Hawks would ever, at this point, consider moving him.
No, never.
No.
He's tagged for life if they can, if they can actually keep him, and he doesn't want to go somewhere else where he can go win sooner. But at the end of the day, those are a lot of really good hypotheticals. I would love to have any one of those guys replace our backup bigs because, James, you hit the nail on the fucking head. That is a huge problem we have, probably the largest gaping hole we have, because we have a lot of guys that can slot in the 1, 2, 3 and really do so to a decent degree. But at the end of the day, we have maybe 1.5 bigs I trust.
Yeah, it's about getting competent NBA players, and like you've seen the Spurs and the Pistons improve a lot this year over last year because they brought in competent NBA players, and they just need to finish the job a little bit more.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to end up like OKC right now, because OKC has a big man issue. Without Chet Holmgren and all they have is Hartenstein, I mean, they got exposed last night. And in a 7-game series, if you have a couple bigs that can run the floor and grab rebounds, I don't know if the Thunder can get out of that series. So
yeah, they need a healthy Chet.
They need a healthy Chet bad,
because he can play with or on a separate unit than Hartenstein. You don't have to separate those guys because of Hartenstein's playmaking ability and Chet's shooting. But it's a tricky position. And I'm glad you brought that up, AJ, because one of my notes about that game last night was something about the Thunder still has me hesitant to buy their title chances. I can't.
Well, yeah.
I can't even exactly say what specifically, but there's just something there that I don't buy.
I think we're all hitting the nail on the head. They are a really, really great team, but we don't fully know if they can win a championship. And yeah, missing Chet, you are definitely missing one of your consistent front court players, because they have to go back to that small ball lineup with J-Dub far too often, and they can get exposed against teams like Cleveland that have a really, really strong offensive and defensive front court presence when you're looking at Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And when we're looking at Evan Mobley, he's taking a big step forward this season. He is more aggressive on offense. He is really attacking the rim. He does. Whenever he first got drafted, I was saying people were like making Kevin Garnett claim. I'm like, what the hell are we talking about here, guys? This is crazy. But I actually see a little bit of Chris Bosh in him, and now I'm actually starting to see that come out of him. So it's actually really interesting to see his offensive game flourish to match how strong his defensive game is.
And on a night where Donovan Mitchell struggled, he was huge. I mean, he was massive in those tough shots. And then, Mobley and Allen got to do whatever they wanted. I mean, both had 25 and 21 respectively. So I mean, the game last night was so much fun to watch. It was such great basketball for January. I mean, I had a blast watching that game, and then we had to watch the second part of that back-to-back game. Yeah. But anyway, I'm in the same boat, man. Like the Thunder remind me of the Phoenix Suns with Mike D'Antoni and Steve Nash. Like they're going to win a bunch of games, but when it comes to the playoff, when it slows down and you need to have a possession or you need to grab a rebound or you need to just stop the other guy, like my question is, how are they going to stop a team like the Nuggets? Like how are they going to stop a team that has a big that can move the floor and dominate? I'm not 100% sold. We'll see, how far they can go. But if I'm the Thunder, they just need to get healthy or get rid of one of their guards to get another big.
I mean,
Lord knows they have the picks.
Right. They have picks for days, but at the end of the day, I mean, they were on a 15-game win streak going into that game. We are nitpicking. They are the best team in the Western Conference, hands down, without a doubt. And I think even going back to that, like, I think it speaks volumes, AJ, your point earlier, on a night where Donovan Mitchell was struggling. If you were to tell me Donovan Mitchell was going to shoot 3 of 16 and the Cavs were still going to get a W against the number 1 team in the West, I would really probably look at you sideways. But, you know, it just goes to show they're a really well-balanced team.
Y'all, I think it only took a 32-4 start, but I think they're a legitimate threat to Boston.
Yeah.
Like, and I heard someone recently call Evan Mobley Slim Duncan, and he's not Tim Duncan, but he's played like that. And if he can play with that kind of consistency, and I think the maturity that him and Jared Allen have shown over the past couple of years, because I think a couple of years ago when they got bullied by the Knicks in that first round series, they had a problem of, they're tall and that's all. They were a little light in the ass, you know, and the Knicks showed that. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson showed that. Now, I don't think you can bully those two guys like that. And that's a big deal, you know, and that's something that they can throw at Porzingis in those Celtics lineups, you know, just looking forward a little bit. And also, unsung hero, someone that probably would have looked good in silver and black, Darius Garland.
Yeah,
legitimate piece on a championship starting lineup right there.
Absolutely. I mean, a guy that can distribute for your offense, go get 20 points while shooting efficiently from beyond the arc and being very shifty and fucking hard to guard. That's exactly what you want.
He can handle the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, you know, what you were alluding to, that guy that can just go out and get 20, 25 that we were hoping Devin Vassell would blossom into and has shown streaks of. I think that might be what Darius Garland is.
Right.
And that's why the Cavs are where they are and the Spurs are where they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so I mean, that was a very interesting game last night. I mean, two teams, both double-digit win streaks, going head-to-head. Even though, I'm not going to lie, the Thunder technically were not on a 15-game win streak because they fucking lost the play-in championship or the fucking in-season tournament.
I forgot about that.
They got their ass handed to them by the fucking Bucks.
They did.
So I'm actually not going to just say, 15-game win streak, because you know what? They got handled not too long ago.
But again, in their last loss, Giannis took over that game, and they didn't have anyone to stop him. And then also Brook Lopez was playing well that game too. So again, they have a big issue, literally a big issue, and it's a big issue. And I mean, I could continue to go on, but anyway, but I just don't want the Spurs to end up in that point where we're having to worry about, we're a great team, we're winning a bunch of games, but we just have this huge issue with a position that is so pivotal in playoff series.
And if you're the Thunder, and you know, Shea very well may win the MVP this year.
He should.
But looking at the playoffs, if you run into a matchup where someone has a lot of bodies to throw at Shea, who's going to be that number 2? Is J-Dub ready to be that real number 2? Is Chet going to step up? Is Chet going to be healthy? Can they rely on Chet to stay healthy?
I mean, I think this season we've seen J-Dub be that guy offensively. He's averaging, in the mid-20s for most of the season, and he's done it efficiently. And he's played 4 different positions. It's not really a question of whether or not they can make it happen offensively. I think we've been talking about it. It's happening defensively. Mm-hmm. Their front court, they're having to play too much fucking small ball lineup. Mm-hmm. And even though J-Dub can guard a lot of wings and a lot of guys that are mobile, if you have somebody that's 7'2", how do you guard that human being if you're 6'7"? You just fucking can't.
I mean, the biggest thing for me is if the Thunder run into like the Grizzlies in the second round, like, I don't know who wins that series right now, and I have the right to change my mind. But right now, I don't know who wins that series. It might go 6 games, it might go 7 games, but it's going to be a very, very tough series for the Thunder to overcome Triple J and an Edie or things like that. Like
I don't have any doubt that the Thunder are the best team in the West in the regular season.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't get over what happened in that playoff series against the Mavs last year.
Yeah,
that's very true. That's very true. I do feel like they are a different team with Hartenstein and having him fully acclimated. So I think they are a little bit stronger now. And I mean, especially once they get Chet back. But at the same time, I think that going back to toughness and talking about do they have that dog in them, I think that could be one of the things they're missing, just some of that mental fortitude, some of that grit. You definitely need tons of that in the playoff series.
Well, and Chet has that. That's the thing I really love, as skinny man. I love that about Chet because he wouldn't win, but he will fight you.
That's true.
That's fair.
That's true.
He gets ass kicked by Wemby, though.
Right. and by pretty much anybody in a fight. But AJ, earlier you brought up the Grizzlies. We are seeing them very, very soon on a back-to-back, right after we see the Lakers on a back-to-back. So that's our next 4 games. Lakers, Grizzlies, Grizzlies. How are we feeling about those 4 games? We have the Grizzlies that are 3rd in the West, Lakers that are 6th in the West. Obviously, that's above us. And how are we feeling? What's our record during this 4-game stretch?
Is it Grizzlies first and then Lakers? Or
It's Lakers first.
Okay, well, shouts out, prayers for LA, because I know the Clippers had a game canceled, I think, tonight. So hopefully those games happen. Let's just say that first off. I don't have high expectations, AJ.
I don't either. Maybe 1-3. I maybe, and that's because we get the Lakers on the second game. But the way that Jaws come back this year, the way that he's playing, I mean, Triple J is playing out of his mind this year. I don't know if we have enough to beat the Grizzlies. But I mean, crazier things have happened. Maybe one of these games in LA, like Wemby decides to drop a 50-piece or something. I mean, anything can happen because we have Victor Wembanyama. And when you have Victor Wembanyama, you have a chance.
And it's the NBA. Sometimes shots don't go in for one team. Sometimes shots go in for the other team. Anything could happen on a given night.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it would be awesome if we went 500 and went 2-2 and we split. That'd be awesome. Like, that would be just the best expectations. I think we go 1-3. We might be able to get 2-2, but if we get 3-1 or 4-0, that would really surprise me. That means something drastically changed, and we traded for Jimmy Butler. But outside of that, I don't know what we can really count on.
I think we are actually going to go 2-2. I think we're going to go 500. I think we're going to double tap the Lakers. Something tells me we're gonna have their number. I don't know. I'm just feeling it. I think we're gonna handle. I think we're gonna handle LA.
From your mouth to God's ears, they have had our number over these past few years. So I would love to get a split, but I'm kind of with AJ. I'm feeling 1-3 just based off of the vibes of the past week. I'd love to be wrong though.
Yeah, I do think if we're able to run and basically run the Lakers off the court, that's very possible. We have young legs. We're going to have 3 days of rest in between there. I'm sure we won't get into LA until maybe Saturday morning or even Friday night, something like that. So I think we have a chance in LA, and if they're distracted, then we might be able to catch them slipping. But I mean, they're still the Lakers. It's still LeBron James. It's still Anthony Davis. So we'll see.
And LeBron
Anthony,
has been playing very well recently.
Yeah.
I mean, so good. He's still so
that week
fucking
off,
good.
that week off really paid off. I don't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. I don't know where he went.
It was a
but
Illuminati training. He had to
Probably.
get his license renewed.
Anthony
Yeah.
Davis has always been a bit of a thorn in Wemby's side. That's a tough matchup for him defensively. He makes him work for it, and I mean, it's Anthony Davis who can be that surprised. But that's kind of why I don't have the greatest confidence, just because the Lakers have had their number in the past couple of years, and I don't know the way they're playing right now. I think they get one against Memphis, and that's it.
Yeah. That would be disappointing, but at the end of the day, I could see that happening. Really, when you look at the schedule, it really only looks like we could get a couple more wins this month, and that may be about it. So, when we were talking last episode about the Spurs only getting 16 more wins for the rest of the year, or maybe it was 17 more wins for the rest of the year, it's, it may be looking about like that.
Yeah, I mean, you go to Miami after those games against the Lakers and Grizzlies, and then you're over in Paris against the Pacers, who are playing pretty well lately. So, I mean, it gets a little easier, but not much, and you're having to travel halfway across the world, so that's not ideal.
So, are we going to be
Right.
doing our podcast after the France games in French? Because if so, I need to work on my French like bad.
We.
I don't think Duolingo could work enough to get me to know passable French by then.
I only know like 2 words, and that's oui and très magnifique, which is what Tony said in his Cafe au lait commercial. That's all I got.
We gave
Yeah.
the world democracy, existentialism, and the menage a trois.
Ricky Bobby. Too classic.
Those are some good things.
Oh my goodness, absolute classic. But at the end of the day, I think we should start incorporating some fun French stuff into the podcast for Wemby. That would be kind of fun. Maybe like eat a croissant or like
He already watches the
have
podcast.
a baguette.
Dude, he watches the podcast. He quoted us on one of his post-game interviews, dog. I saw it. He was like, we can't use "we're young" excuse anymore. I'm like, that's a direct quote from us. So we got to check our subscribers. I'm sure he's under an alias, but
Right,
An alias for the alien.
right. The alienist. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's using a burner.
so, but I still love the Spurs. It's still fun to watch Wemby play every game. It's one of those things I just get really excited about. This is one of my favorite shows on TV right now is the Victor Wembanyama show, and it's you always see something. Even he scored 10 points yesterday, but he still had 4 highlights. So it's a lot of fun.
And I told AJ, perspective is really hard when you taste success. And at the end of the day, we have to remember what the expectations for the Spurs coming into the season were. It was 35 to 38 wins, and we'll take that. And I still think that's the same thing that we're here now. It might have been a little hard to accept that when we were at 18 and 16, but I think you still have to look at this as a work in progress. And no matter who you go out and get, this needs time in the microwave.
Yeah, we are still growing.
It's a fucking smoker,
Still-
dog.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it does feel like a brisket. It feels like we're slow cooking a brisket, but at the same
Brisket
time,
will be ready in 1 hour.
well, but at the same time, I was on a podcast recently with somebody, and it was a Kings fan, and this guy, so having a perspective of rebuilding our franchise, seeing us in the dumps, it's like, as Spurs fans, it really hasn't been that long. So
No.
talking with other fans from other fan bases, we really are truly fortunate if it's only been the last few years that we've really been scrambling. And even now, we can still see the light at the end of the tunnel. We know who's taking us to the promised land.
Yeah. They were in the play-in in 2022. So, I mean, like you said, that wasn't that long ago when you talk about the Kings who went literal decades in the desert.
Right. Absolutely. Well, guys, do we want to dunk?
I feel like I could yam.
James, who you yamming on?
I mentioned it last week, but I want to officially yam on Kirk Herbstreit. Has anyone in the sports media that you guys know of lit their credibility on fire more in a year's time that you can remember?
Skip Bayless.
I mean, as a carnival barker, Skip Bayless maybe didn't have any credibility. You asked Troy Aikman about that, but
you mean the closet guy?
yeah, I mean, I love two sports probably above all others, and that's college football and the NBA. And to see Kirk Herbstreit, he went on a podcast this week. I don't know if y'all have seen it on Twitter or whatnot with Ari Wasserman from On3. And completely just tried to gaslight the entire country into making us believe that he didn't say things that are literally on fucking tape. He's saying this he never thought Alabama deserved to be in the playoff, but he's not mentioning who he thought deserved to be in the playoff instead of Alabama. And, you watched College Game Day the day after that Notre Dame-Indiana game. He literally said that Indiana was outclassed and didn't deserve to be on the field. But that night, 12 hours later, after Tennessee got truly outclassed by Ohio State, not a word about that. And I just think that, I've seen a lot of the NBA coverage in the media and how they talk about the league has a problem. I don't want the other sport that I love to have that same problem. And I think that talking heads like that, having the platform that they are and saying what they say like that, and then trying to pull the wool over our eyes, it's shitty. It's shitty.
It feels disingenuous, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As a fan of a team that doesn't have that college football birthright to be great, it's really discouraging because the whole illusion that makes the sport great is access. That we have the same chance to win the same title that they're playing for right now.
Yeah.
Are you dunking on his dog too?
No. But I will say, if he keeps using dogs as a meat shield, I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna be done with it because at this point, you can't convince me that those dogs aren't human meat shields.
Oh yeah, he's just using them. Hey, humanize me.
Hey, look over here. Yeah. Look over here. It's a dog.
It's a dog. I want to dunk on him real hard this week because.
Yeah.
Stop ruining the things I love, ESPN.
You been dunked on, AJ. Who you yamming on?
I'm dunking on everyone outside of Texas right now who is saying, "Oh, you guys got a little snow? I drive through all the time." Go fuck yourself, first of all. I hate you so much. And also, we're not used to this kind of weather. This isn't our thing. TxDOT decided to be reactive instead of proactive, so they outsource all of their equipment. So whenever it snows, we are behind the eight ball because of our government. Sorry, I can't really control any of that shit. So, and also it's oh man, it snowed 40 inches the other day. I'm like, you live in Canada, I don't care. What's the point? I don't care. So, that's my dunk today. For people who also, and this is like a put back dunk, the people who moved from outside of Texas into Texas and they're like, I can drive on snow. Fuck you too.
Yeah, that's not some kind of superpower. You shouldn't have to fucking flex that just because you lived in Minnesota. We don't fucking care, okay?
Yeah.
That's not a flex.
Yeah.
Right.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Yeah, hey.
Right.
So, hey, congratulations, you got a white Christmas. I had a 90-degree Christmas day, so I don't want to hear it. We are less than 2 weeks after that case, and it was 90 degrees. Now it's like 25 with snow. So, sorry, this is Texas. This is what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good Texas dunk. I like that.
Gammon on.
Yeah. There's one thing that's been kind of bothering me over the last couple days, and have y'all heard this LiAngelo Ball song, Tweakers?
I was hoping someone would bring that up.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. The song is ass. Like the song is straight up cheeks. There's people that are saying it's like there's people that are saying it's like it reminds me of those like mid 2000s bangers. Like it reminds me of those like old school I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? This is like some mid-tier rap. Like, I mean, I'm a swerve and bend the corner. Whoa. That's just so mid to me. Like, and everyone is eating it up. Even Damian Lillard, one of the actual residents, one of the guys in the NBA community that can rap, and he co-signs it. And then now LiAngelo Ball is fucking playing various shows. He's got gigs lined up. And I'm like, all because he drops a song that's ass? It's like, dude, fucking get dunked on.
Now, Rob, would you rather have that song or like mumble rap or this shit? I would much rather have Jello Ball.
All I'm hearing in this conversation is the need for a Zifo reunion.
Dog, they have kids now.
Zifo.
Hey, man, it's hard to be Zifo when you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Got to drag him out of retirement somehow.
Right. I mean,
Cam still owes us like 4 verses, but that's okay.
I was just about to say it was hard to get Cam to record a verse in 2009. Yeah, like what are we talking about? But yeah, those are some good dunks, guys. Yeah, some pretty solid dunks. If anybody's still with us now, we appreciate you staying with us. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, do all of the fun stuff. We just appreciate the hell out of you.
Tell us who you want to dunk on. Let us know.
Right.
Who's grinding your gears? Who you dunking on? Because we like to,
even if it's us.
Yeah, dunk on us. I'm sure this is a negative podcast.
But guys, that's been a good episode. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. Even though we had to talk about some Spurs losses, it was still nice to chat. And I think we should end the episode like we always do, and that is with a go Spurs go.
Whoa.
I'm a swerve and bend the corner. Whoa.